So we are 7 weeks in on this leg recovery thing, and here's what's happening. A lot of progress. And I'm very happy with the fact that I can now bend my leg. It's very nice. I can actually sit in a chair, although I can't sit all the way back in a chair. I can sit in a chair and for shorter periods of time because the whole leg bendy thing doesn't quite bend. And so if you sit back in the chair, the brace kind of hitches your leg up so it sticks out straight in the air. It's like, it's not really comfortable in a chair. And so at the present, I can bend my leg 62 degrees, which is wonderful. And we're still on progress for 10 degrees a week. And so if you go to 120 degrees, which that's the limits of the brace, that's another 6 weeks to go. And that takes us to November 6th. And that's not saying that that's the end. That's just the end of this possibly brace is the 6 weeks out. I finally graduated to one crutch. So that's a wonderful thing. It's cool to be able to have a hand free, to be able to do simple things like carry a plate of food to the table or, anything really simple like that. Especially that I stepped on the scale the morning of my surgery and I weighed 157 pounds and I wanted to make sure that that didn't get out of control. And here we are 7 weeks later and my weight is just around 161 and a half. Well, it is 161 and a half this morning. That means I'm being smart about what I'm eating while my activity level is relatively low. It's amazing. It takes so much focus and concentration just instead of swinging my leg to move my leg forward, step up and out. And if you watch me on steps, it's kind of funny to watch because I'm trying to physically lift my leg up and then step down. And I'm also trying to walk straight on steps. One of the things that I guess it's not really a bad habit. I mean, it's the way I had to get up and down steps. But one of the things I was having to do is kind of catch myself sideways and then kind of go down the steps, and leading with my right leg down the step and then step down to it and step down to it and step down to it. And now I'm not stepping each leg down through the steps, but I am trying to pick up my foot and step down straight and then step down to it and then pick up my foot and step down straight. So it's just interesting. It's one of those things you never really think about. And you're like, oh yeah, walking up steps, no big deal. When you can only use one leg, it's a big deal. I was getting out of the car the other day. I was lifting my leg up and kind of set it out over the door sill. And I had most of my weight up on the grab handle in the back of the seat. And I was moving myself out. And the lip of my brace caught on the edge of the door sill and it bent my leg. I mean, it could only go as far as 60 degrees because that's where my braces are locked to at this moment. But man, was that a shock. I just sat down on the steps and just thought about life for a second. Because I don't know if you've ever had pain so much that made you feel nauseous. And that's what I felt like. I thought I'd really hurt myself at the moment. And it was sore for the rest of the day. And I iced it and took care of myself. But I don't recommend doing that. That was not a good move. So I'll throw a picture of my scar up on a timeline, and you can see where it looks like today versus what it looked like when I first got out of the hospital. Actually, I'll actually include the picture of what it looked like right after I hurt myself too, because I think that's interesting to see as well. And then you can see the progression there. It looks pretty good. I'm really happy with the way the scar looks. I've moved into the next phase of physical therapy where I'm actually using my leg, not just kind of trying to strengthen the muscles or just make my muscles aware of the fact that they're actually connected. We've kind of moved past that. Now we're trying to actually actively use the muscles in a way that they would be used. So I'm doing a lot of hip movements, and doing some air squats now, single leg stands. Those are really kind of difficult. Standing on the wobble board. They won't let me do that outside of PT. I can do it in PT, but not outside. It's like, okay, all right, I get it. And some side walking and heel to toe walking. Just all sorts of exercises like that help strengthen my leg and actually give me confidence that my leg is actually working. And as the doctor says, the repair is not made of tissue paper. So we're going to actually use it and actually stress it a little bit, not a lot, but we are going to continually stress it so that it is getting stronger. And I noticed the other day I had a little bit of definition in my leg. So I was like, ooh, wow, that's exciting. Muscle definition, because I haven't had muscle definition since July 21st when I hurt myself. If you were following cycling this recent week, you saw Chloe Dygert, who's a phenomenal time trialer, defending world champion in the time trial. She was on course to absolutely just annihilate everybody in the time trial this year again, and she wrecked. She went to the guardrail at 30 miles an hour, slid down the guardrail, and rolled down the embankment, and then of course she got carted away in a helicopter and didn't finish the race, which is just tragic. And come to find out later that she had her left quadricep probably was sliced open as she rode the guardrail. And then to have that happen to her in really a moment of glory, and I'm like, I hope she has a full and healthy recovery from this injury. So go for it, Chloe. We want you to come back. You're a phenomenal talent, and I think the world better be a better place with you in the sport. There's a reason why this channel is called John David Goes. I just like having a full quiver of stuff to do. And one of the things I've really been interested in lately is stand-up paddleboarding. It's like, that would be fantastic. Because a lot of places that I go mountain biking, it's near a body of water, be it a lake or a river. And it's like, oh, this would be cool. I could go mountain biking, I could go running, and I could go stand-up paddleboarding. Maybe I can even do an open water swim. So I've thought about buying a paddleboard. And then I bet I could make a paddleboard. Because my son a couple years ago, for a project, made a canoe made out of 1/4-inch plywood, glassed it, and it floats. So you can see him floating in the swimming pool. And the canoe works. And I'm like, I bet I could make a paddleboard. And I've been looking into it, and obviously it's like a lot of things. Making it is not necessarily the budget way to get it. And then my son says to me, oh, what would you do with that? I'm like, well, it's a stand-up paddleboard, so I think I'd take it out to the lake and I'd stand up and paddle. Well, how often would you use that? I don't know. I'd use it more than once. Maybe every weekend I would go out and I'd ride my mountain bike and run and then use my stand-up paddleboard. And I'd have a big time with it and I'd have fun. And I've had access to a paddleboard. And he's like, well, that doesn't sound like a very useful thing. And then he turns around in the next sentence and says, well, I've been thinking about building a suit of plate armor. I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense. I mean, everybody out there has got a suit of plate armor and just goes out on the weekends and uses that, right? I mean, because a stand-up paddleboard, that's not useful in this century. Plate armor, that's totally useful in this century. That's it, folks. We'll see you in the next video. And remember, adventures wherever you find it.